You must know inside, in the deepest part of your being, that you matter. Not just that you matter, but also why. So for me, the foundational base of empowerment, of entrepreneurship, of any kind of engagement, the foundational base of my success, of my well-being, my wholeness, my everything is knowing who I am and where I come from.
You have about a 5-second window in which you can move from idea to action before your brain kicks into full gear and sabotages any change in behavior. Because remember, your brain is wired to stop you from doing things that are uncomfortable or uncertain or scary. It's your job to learn how to move from those ideas that could change everything into acting on them.
Here's what I know about people who don't make it to the top. It's not that they lack ability many times, it's that they lack the emotional strength to understand that it isn't about you. And that you need to begin to understand that when you fail, the whole world doesn't care. You just failed. Pick yourself back up and get back into the game. Nobody's going to wait on you to get your act together before you get with it.
See, the one thing a boss has to realize is your job isn't to take care of yourself, your job is to take care of other people. So that means you have to completely be selfless. If you're selfish at all, you're not a boss. If you don't have the ability to care about other people before yourself, you're not a boss. People practice being bosses every day because they're parents. You know, you care more about your child than you care about yourself. That's like your business. That's what a boss does. You know, I've had to pay my staff before I pay my own bills because they did the work. You understand what I'm saying? That's what a boss does.
You are the architect of tomorrow. The Wright brothers had the audacity to believe that they could build something that would take them from the ground to the air. And so they built this without a degree, without having financiers. They didn't let any of the things that normally stop us. I don't have the money, I don't have the capital, I don't have the manufacturing. In fact, they built the first plane in a bicycle shop. Wow. The other thing that I think is important to mention, the gravitational pull that the Wright brothers had to break through is a law that whatever goes up must come down. Isaac Newton was absolutely right. But they found a higher law. By pushing the limits on the lower law, they found the law of aerodynamics. Most entrepreneurs, when you start building something, there is a gravitational pull that says you don't belong up here, come down to where you belong. But if you keep pushing against what's pulling you back, you'll break into another law.
Yeah.
Turn your wounds into wisdom. You will be wounded many times in your life. You'll make mistakes. Some people will call them failures. But I have learned that failure is really God's way of saying, excuse me, you're moving in the wrong direction. It's just an experience in life. If you can be still long enough in all of your endeavors, the good times, the hard times, to connect yourself to the source and allow the energy that is your personality, your life force, to be connected to the greater force, anything is possible for you.
You will never succeed more than you fail. That's not how it works. You know why? Because failure is a wonderful teacher. It's the only way to learn. You have to fail. Failure is a part of the process to becoming successful. I tell people this all the time. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player in the world, he took 946 game-winning shots. He has missed over 700 times, but he has made 146. You know what they write about? When he make it. They write about when you make it. So guess what? When you get through failing, all you got to do is make one. Shit, who you know that gets it right all the time? That's impossible. You have to fail. Matter of fact, when you fail, be glad about it. Every time you fail, you're one step closer.
Make 1,000,000 mistakes. Just quit wasting your energy making the same mistakes. You have to make a decision that I will learn from this thing. So the good experiences and the bad experiences, I'm going to learn from that, and I'm going to discover the opportunity for me to grow and for me to get better. I'm telling you, I've already made up my mind that I know I will fall down. I know that I will stumble, but I already see myself getting back up. Therefore, I'm never down. I'm either up or getting back up. Can I get a witness at 6 p.m. tonight who's decided, I'm gonna learn?
You do what it is you're supposed to. You're supposed to build something. You're supposed to create something. I don't know how to do it. Learn. Do whatever is required. Just go out there. It's possible you can get what you want.
Don't try to be the best. Be the first. Be the first to change. Be the first to take the challenge. Be the first one to overcome the difficulties. Because the best person, there's only one Olympic champion.
You need to change your mind, because some of you are thinking about giving up because you're in a season of failure. But just because you failed doesn't mean that God doesn't have a bright future in store for you. It is always too soon to quit. But I want to remind you that failure is not final, it's formative. It is part of the process. It's part of the journey. Your failure matters as much as your success. How do you think you're gonna grow if you don't ever fail? Yet some of you have failed and you have decided, well, guess what? I'm a failure. No, failure is an event. It is never a person. Just because you failed doesn't mean that you're a failure. In fact, failure is actually fuel for your future. The way that you grow, the way that you advance, you have to fail in order to succeed. Like every one of my successes is stacked on top of failures. You need to get a revelation today that the joy is not in the success. The joy is in trying. The joy is in the process.
Do you remember them days where you thought it was absolutely unbearable and you thought you wasn't going to endure that one? Do you know that your survival rate for every last one of them bad days is 100%? Your track record for surviving bad days is 100%. That's a fact. Your track record, you batting 1,000. You'd have survived every funky day you ever had. You survived every hater. You survived all the evictions. You survived the firings. You survived all the tell you no, we ain't hiring. You survived all the trouble you ever been in. Your survival rate is 100%. 100%.
I'm sure all of you have been told that you don't have what it takes and that you may not be good enough and you don't have enough people supporting you, and you're being told all of these things when deep down it's all you want to do. You want to be a part of something great. You want to make something great. And it does more than knock the wind out of you. It crushes you when people try to tell you that you're not good enough. And it almost did for me, but there was my mom next to me, stronger than ever. And she said, the most important thing is to always trust in myself. If I'm doing something because I love it, I should do it because I love it, and I believe I can do it. So she told me to keep going. Thank you. She told me and she taught me to turn the other cheek and let the critics be critics, and let us just trust ourselves.
About the wisest person I ever met in my life, who taught me to combine knowledge and wisdom to make an impact, was my father. A simple cook. Wisest man I ever met in my life. Just a simple cook. Left school in the 3rd grade to help out on the family farm, but just because he left school doesn't mean his education stopped. Mark Twain once said, I've never allowed my schooling to get in the way of my education. My father taught himself how to read, taught himself how to write, decided in the midst of Jim Crowism, as America was breathing the last gasp of the Civil War, my father decided he was going to stand and be a man. Not a black man, not a brown man, not a white man, but a man. He literally challenged himself to be the best that he could all the days of his life. I have 4 degrees. My brother is a judge. We're not the smartest ones in our family. It's a 3rd grade dropout daddy. A 3rd grade dropout daddy who was quoting Michelangelo, saying to us, boys, I won't have a problem if you aim high and miss, but I'm gonna have a real issue if you aim low and hit. A country mother quoting Henry Ford, saying if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. I learned that from a third grade drop. Simple lessons. Lessons like these. Son, you'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. We never knew what time it was in my house because the clocks were always ahead. My mother said for nearly 30 years, my father left the house at 3:45 in the morning. One day she asked him, why, Daddy? He said, maybe one of my boys will catch me in the act of excellence. I want to share two things with you. Aristotle said, you are what you repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence ought to be a habit, not an act. Don't ever forget.